Get started. These first two slides are entitled Before You Say Anything. Before you say anything. And again, I believe this is extremely important and gets far too little attention. First of all, when you walk into a business, now again, this is talking about face-to-face sales. We'll get to telemarketing in a second. Before you say anything, don't get stressed out. Be relaxed. Lower your expectations. Your goal is to meet a business owner. Too many sales agents go into the business and they have this expectation that they're going to make a sale. They feel like I really need this commission. I've got to make this sale and I've got to make a good impression. And what happens is they get stressed out, and you need to be relaxed, and your expectation should be, I just want to meet a business owner. That's all I want to do. I want to go in and meet a business owner and talk to somebody. That is my goal. And if I accomplish that, then I succeeded at my first meeting. I just want to meet a business owner. So be relaxed. That's going to help with a lot of these other areas. Next, look sharp but not flashy. If people notice anything about your appearance, you did something wrong. As some of you know, I'm a youth pastor on the weekends, and I took some of my teenage guys out to play basketball a few weeks ago, and afterwards I changed and I got on some khaki pants and a collared shirt, but I still had on my white sneakers, and they're bright white Nike basketball shoes. And I had to go follow up on a few clients, and I forgot to change my shoes. I went out, and literally every single client that I talked to said something about my shoes. Oh, wow, nice shoes. That would mean I did something wrong. I don't want anything about my appearance, whether it be good or bad. I don't want to look overdressed or underdressed. Nothing about my appearance should draw attention away from what I'm saying and my body language. So you want to try to dress in a way that does not draw attention to what you're wearing. Next, you want to wait your turn in line and look around. Don't look like a shark waiting for the kill. Too many agents stand there looking nervous, looking with this anticipation, standing at the counter. Sometimes I've actually been with agents before where there'll be a line of customers, and they will actually come to the front of the line and say, start their opening pitch. Boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what, that is not a good way to start. Wait in line and wait your turn, just like you're any other customer. If you're at a pizza place, wait in line at the pizza place. And then while you're there, if it's a retail store, look around, do a little shopping. If you see the business owner is busy with somebody else, then, look around and show a true interest in their store, and look around there. Start talking to a customer if you can. If you're at the counter, that'll break the tension. I always do this. If I'm in a line of people at the counter, and there's a bunch of people behind me, and I'm getting ready to talk to the business owner, and maybe it's the person that's checking out, and I might try to start a conversation, just joke around a little bit, maybe about something that they're purchasing, or whatever I can kind of come up with. I try to make some small talk, and so it's almost like me and the business owner and this customer are having a conversation before the business owner even knows what I'm doing there. And that really is a great way to break the tension, so that once that customer walks away, you can turn to the business owner and start with your presentation. Next, think about this person's business. So before you say anything about what you're selling, and before you walk up to the business owner, think about this person's business. What do they sell? What would be the challenges that they're facing right now? How is the economy affecting them? How many employees do they have? What's their average ticket size? What's their high ticket size? Think about this person's business, and it'll help get you in a better mindset to make a good first impression. Next, introduce yourself to the person you meet and talk to them. Be a normal person, okay? When you walk in, it might not be the business owner at the counter. It might be somebody else, but just talk to them. Be a normal person. Don't be this, salesperson that's just all about the sale, and you walk up to that person and say, is the manager in today? That's probably my least favorite line. Every time I hear a salesperson say that, I just cringe. Stop saying, is the manager in today? Whoever it is that you're talking to is a real person, and they would be glad to talk with you, so talk to them. And it'll probably get you in a more relaxed mood. It will get one of the employees on your side, and then they will go get the business owner for you because they like you. So don't say, is the manager here? Just talk to the person that, whoever you come to, talk to that person in a normal way and carry on a normal conversation. Next, before you say anything, remember that silence is your friend. Learn to embrace it. Salespeople are good talkers, and that can be a blessing and a curse, like most things. The blessing is you have no problem talking to strangers. The curse is that you tend to talk all the time. So learn to be quiet, learn to embrace that silence. If you notice that the business owner is talking to somebody else, then that's fine. Let them talk to somebody else, and you just stand there quietly looking at something else, or do something else. You don't have to constantly be talking. Practice a relaxed, pleasant expression in front of the mirror. Use that while the owner is walking towards you. One of my favorite sales stories personally was when I first started in sales, I worked for True Green, and we sold lawn care, and I went out door to door, and one day it was kind of like a misting rain, and we had a misting rain out there, and I had this terrible facial expression. You know that expression you get when somebody is just misting you with water, that expression you get on your forehead is all crinkled, and I'll tell you, I got a terrible reaction that day out in the field, and I thought, man, what's going on? I was one of the top salespeople, and I thought, why can't I get sales? And then when I went home that night, I was thinking about that facial expression, and I went in front of the mirror and kind of made that expression again like I was being misted, and I realized how angry I looked. And I thought, good night, no wonder I got a terrible reaction. And so I practiced in the mirror relaxing my forehead muscles so that I had a normal expression. And the next day I went out, and I had this terrible angry look, and as soon as I would walk up to the door, I'd knock on the door, and then I would do that face where I would just relax my face and have a pleasant look on my face, and I'll tell you, my results were like 10 times better the next day. And so you can have that same problem when you walk into a business. You need to practice in front of the mirror a pleasant expression where you have kind of not a cheesy grin, but just a little bit of a smile and just a nice expression on your face. And then practice that so that you can use that when a business owner is walking towards you. Just a relaxed look, a pleasant look. Bring something with you to hand the merchant while you start to talk. I usually end up handing my business card out last. That's usually the last thing I hand them before I leave, because a business card really kind of gives them a chance to say, okay, I got your card, I'll give you a call. I'd rather start out by handing them something else or showing them something else, like a brochure, maybe a terminal, or a cost comparison. And we'll talk about that in the next couple slides, how you can use that in your presentation. Ask yourself when the business owner walks up, is he in a good mood, a bad mood? Is he busy or relaxed? Use the few seconds of time while the business owner is walking towards you before you say anything to, first of all, have a relaxed, pleasant expression on your face, but also to try to figure out, just by looking at him, the way that he or she is walking towards you, the expression they have on their face, does this look like a person that's in a good mood, a relaxed mood, and ready to talk, or do they look like they're in a bad mood and they're very busy? Obviously, if they're in a bad mood and they're busy, you're going to have to adjust your opening to say things like, hey, I really appreciate you coming out here to see me. I'm not going to take hardly any of your time. I know you're busy today. You're going to want to start out like that. If they come out and they look relaxed and in a good mood, you say, hey, how are you doing today? And so, you're gonna change your opening based on their mood, and you can usually tell somebody's mood when they're walking towards you by their facial expression and the way that they're walking. Start to speak slowly and keep your pleasant expression. So again, practicing that pleasant expression, keeping that in your face. Practice your opening lines in front of a mirror and see how you look. You can also do that in front of a friend or your spouse or significant other, and you can practice your opening presentation and ask them, don't pay attention to the words I'm saying, but the way that I look, my facial expressions, the tone of my voice. Does it sound good? Am I talking too fast? Am I talking too slow, too deep, too high? Am I talking, is my facial expression look angry or happy? So ask them those questions, and that'll help you really get your opening presentation down pat. So that's what you want to do before you say anything. So now let's say that you've done all those things and you're feeling comfortable. Now the business owner is walking towards you. So now what do you say? Well, first of all, you want to start off with something interesting. Start off with something interesting. Let's look at a couple of examples. You might say, hey, I was just talking to Bob over at XYZ company. He's one of my clients, and he gave me your name, and then you'd continue on with your pitch. That's something interesting that you can say. Start off with, I was just talking to Bob over at XYZ company. He's one of my clients. He gave me your name. And so now that's going to catch his attention. That's interesting. He finds out that one of his friends or somebody he knows in the community is one of your clients. You might want to start off with something like, I was on my way to install this terminal over at XYZ company, and I realized I'd never stopped in here to introduce myself. My name is James Shepard. I just wanted to stop by and introduce myself. How are you doing today? And then that is something that's interesting, and you have the terminal with you. Remember I talked about that a second ago. Have something to show them. I have a terminal in a box, and this is how I do this opening. I'll go in and actually say, you know, hey, I'm on the way over to install such and such company, and I had this terminal with me to go install there. And I just thought I would stop by. I never have introduced myself. Now, I'll tell you guys, I use this opening most commonly in a mini mall. If I sell one person in a mini mall, then before I do the installation, I'm going to schedule about 30 minutes of time before that, and I'm going to go to every single business in that mini mall, and I'm going to walk in with the terminal that I'm about to install. And of course, they all know the other business owner because they're all in the same mini mall. And so that's a great way for you to kind of get an inroad there. But again, that's something interesting you can say. I'm on my way to show this cost analysis to Bob over at XYZ Company. And since I'm saving him so much in his processing fees, I thought I would just check and see, are you guys also using, and again, that's something interesting. And you have the cost analysis that you set down on the counter and say, hey, I was about to go show this to Bob over at XYZ Company, this cost analysis for his credit card processing. And, we're saving him 30 or 40% on his processing fees. So I just thought I would stop in here and see, now, are you guys using the same company? Now, a lot of times they'll say no, and that's fine. You can say, well, who are you guys using? And, you can go right into your pitch. But again, it's interesting. It catches their attention. It's an interesting thing to say when you start the conversation. The best opening is custom and very difficult to say no to. So think about your opening, guys. Before you go in, think about your opening presentation for this particular merchant. It doesn't need to be a long thing that you're going to say, but it just needs to be something interesting. Maybe you already service another pizza place in the area, and maybe you're going to go walk into a new pizza place that you haven't been in before, and you could think about that. And maybe you bring that cost analysis with you when you go in and say, hey, here's I'm currently working with so-and-so. We've been saving him X amount of money per month. That's interesting. So think of something interesting to say that's going to catch their attention and something that's really very difficult to say no to. I mean, look at all three of these. It's very difficult to say no, I'm not interested to any of these three. So if you're getting a lot of people saying they're not interested right off the bat, first of all, I would look at what are you doing before you say anything. That's what I would look at first. And then second, I would look at what you're saying. Are you saying something interesting when you get started? Last slide on this, what to say, continue. Let's give you a couple other things to talk about. So after you say something interesting by way of introduction, follow up with an open-ended question. For instance, what's your biggest concern with your processing service right now, Bob? Would it be getting an upgraded terminal, lowering your fees, or the service you're getting right now? And so again, there's a lot of different ways to word that, but you get the idea. This is an open-ended question, and maybe after talking to Bob, we find out that we see that his terminal is pretty old. So of course, we're going to customize this a little bit, and we might say, Bob, now I notice your terminal there is a little bit outdated. It's a little bit older. You might like it, but if you had to pick one thing that you really would like to see improved in your credit card processing service, what would it be, Bob? Would it be your credit card machine? Would you like to get a free upgraded terminal? Or are you mainly concerned with getting a lower credit card processing fees? Or might it be a local service? I mean, are you getting the kind of service that you want right now? And asking open-ended questions like that are really going to get a great response. Usually the customer is going to tell you one thing, and it's going to at least open up a conversation about their processing service that might give you some insight into, the things that they are going to have an interest in with your service. Next, another example. So which processing company are you guys using? That's another great open-ended question. Or you might ask after that, now how long have you been using them? Or how did you get started with them? That is one of my favorite questions. I love that question. How did you get started with them? When you ask that question, what that's going to do is that is really going to get these, these people to start thinking about when they signed up. Now, where is that going to lead? Well, that's going to lead into them talking about the sales agent that sold them, okay? Now, how would you follow up to that? Let's say I'm talking to a business owner and he says, and I asked him, I said, now, who are you guys using? And he said, well, let's see, and I say, oh, wow, now how did you get started with them? Did somebody come in here like I'm doing right now, or they call you over the phone? And they'll say, oh, they had a guy out here, I think his name was Bill. I still got his business card, but yeah, he came out here a couple of years ago and set me up. I'll say, oh, really? I didn't never even heard of Bill. Does he still come around, or is he not even in the business anymore, or have you seen him lately? And they almost always say, come to think of it, I haven't seen him since he signed me up. And that is a great thing for your prospective client to say, isn't it? Because now you can say, wow, you know, that's one of the things that's so difficult about this business, Bob. It's so frustrating to me. You know, I have all these clients and I'm very committed to them, but a lot of times somebody will come in and try to undercut me or try to, you know, get a business real quick. And then, you know, 2 months later, they're out of the business. And, you know, that's a tragedy that, you know, that happens in our industry. It kind of gives us a bad name, and I apologize for that. And so obviously that's a great way that you can segue into the next part of your presentation. Lastly, on this slide here, learn when to listen and when to cut off the merchant and come back another day, okay? Learn when to listen and when to cut off the merchant and come back another day. Let me explain what I mean by that. Sometimes you're going to start your opening and the merchant is going to say something like, you know what, I don't have time for this, okay? As soon as they say that, rather than letting them complete that sentence and say, I don't have time for this, I'm not interested, I cut them off when they say, I don't have time for this. I can see they're saying that, and while they're saying this, I say, oh, I'm so sorry, Bob. I can see you're really busy today. I apologize for bothering you. I'll stop back another time. Here's my business card. Thank you very much for your time. You have a great day. Because why? I don't want to lose that deal. I don't want to make it to where if I walk back in a week from now that somehow I'm going against what the merchant told me to do. So if you get a merchant that you can tell they're just about to tell you something like, this is over, don't ever come back again, cut them off and say something pleasant. Have a pleasant expression on your face. Don't look flustered. Hand them your business card and apologize for intruding on their time and leave the store. Then mark that down for a month later and you can come back and say, hey, Bob, how you doing today? Boy, I'm so sorry. I came in here a month ago and you were real busy, and I apologize. It looks like I kind of, you know, came right in the middle while you were busy, and I'm sorry. Do you have a couple minutes to talk right now, or is this a good time? And boy, you'll be surprised. Now, some merchants will still say, no, I still don't have time or whatever, but you'd be surprised how many times a merchant will say, no, I apologize. I was rude to you that day, and I'm sorry. I was having a rough day. I've had that happen many times. And boy, that's a great opening to walk into a business and have the business owner already feeling like you were very polite and courteous to them when they were having a bad day. That's a great way to, you know, to get into a conversation there. So, all right, let's see here. That's all I got on this one. Now, guys, I did record this webinar. I pretty much have every day about 10 people ask me if I recorded the webinar. So I wasn't going to record them because I do really want you guys to be actually on the webinars because I enjoy the question and answer and the interactive time that we have. So I do want you to continue coming on the webinars, and we'll try to get some interactive time going. But I am going to record all the webinars from now on and post them on my YouTube channel. So if you go to ccsalespro.com, if you miss a webinar, just go there, and I'll try to get them posted the same day. If not, I'll post them the next day, and we'll keep those going. So let's see. I'm going to open up for questions. If you have a question, if you could type out your question over to the right in the questions box, or you can raise your hand up here at the top, and I will be glad to answer your question. Well, let's see here. Do we have any? Here we go. We got it. I was going to say this is going to be our shortest webinar ever. All right, we got one question here. Let's see what we got. Steve says, what do you think is best to dress like on a day-to-day basis? Steve, I always say as a general rule to mirror the appearance of your clients. Now, I live in rural Pennsylvania. My clients, as a general rule, are going to wear a collared shirt and jeans, a nice pair of jeans and a collared shirt to their business, or they might wear khakis and a collared shirt. So that's what I wear. If I'm going to meet clients that I currently have, I wear jeans and a collared shirt. If I'm going out to prospect, I wear khaki pants or dress pants and a collared shirt. Now, I've talked to agents that are in some areas like in Manhattan where what they do is they wear a shirt and tie with dress pants because most business owners and proprietors there do wear a shirt and tie. And so, so you have to make an adjustment there. I have some agents that are out in the country and they would never wear anything except jeans and a collared shirt. Because that's what their clients wear. So basically just mirror your clients. But to answer your question, what I do, I wear jeans and a collared shirt or khakis and a collared shirt or dress pants and a collared shirt, again, just kind of depending on who I'm going to. Now, I will tell you one other thing, too. I got a tip from a magazine I read a while back, and that's really helped me. They said that once you have your first meeting with a client, write down the way that they dress if you're going to go back for a follow-up visit and dress appropriately. I've had deals before where it was a little bit of a larger client, and when I went there, I felt a little underdressed because the business owner was wearing a shirt and tie. And so when I scheduled a follow-up visit, I went back with a shirt and tie on. And you'd be surprised how much of a difference that actually can make. Steve asks, which brochure is best to hand out when first meeting a new business owner? I actually have a brochure that I use. If any of you do not have that brochure, email me after this webinar and just ask for a copy of the brochure. And Steve, if you email me, I will send it to you in a couple different formats, and you can take it to any printer and get it printed. You can use Staples or a local printing company and get those printed out. But I have one that I use. It's a trifold brochure that I pass out. Matt Price asks, how would you approach a cold call over the phone? Oh, I didn't even cover that. I'm sorry. Let's talk about that real quick. Okay, let's say that you're calling over the phone and you're trying to set an appointment. Again, my expertise is setting appointments over the phone. I'm not good at making sales over the phone. If somebody does have a question about that, you can ask that question, and I'll unmute Matt's line, and Matt can answer that question for us. He is very good at selling over the phone. I'm terrible at that, but I am very good at setting appointments over the phone. I have had a lot of experience with that, and I kind of use the same method. I try to keep it very interesting and very informal, and so I try to think of a good reason why I would call. Now, here's what I normally say. Normally, when I call over the phone to schedule an appointment, I say something like this. I say, hi, my name is James Shepard. I'm a local business owner here. I own multi-merchant processing, and I have a couple clients in your area where I set up their credit card machine for them. And I'm going to be out that way tomorrow, probably around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm just curious if you might be in tomorrow, if I could stop by and talk to you about your credit card processing needs. And so that's one way I'll do it. Now, a lot of times I'll say something before that at the very beginning because I don't know if I'm talking to the right person. And so sometimes what I'll do at the very beginning is I'll say, hi, my name is James Shepard, and I have a local company called Multi-Merchant Processing here in the area. And I'm just curious, do you know who does your credit card processing right now? So sometimes I'll ask that question first, and then I'll move into the second part of it. But, really, I really just try to keep it very casual, very relaxed, and very much custom. It really depends on the type of business. I almost always get into some kind of a conversation about their business over the phone. I'll even ask them, for instance, one thing I like to say over the phone, especially if I'm calling a tough area and I'm trying to schedule appointments, I like to call and say, hi, my name is James Shepard. I have a local business doing credit card processing, and I guess now you guys have you guys have a retail store there in the area, right? And they say, yeah, we have a retail store. And I say, I was just curious, I'm sure you guys accept credit cards, right? And they'll say, well, yeah, we accept credit cards. Okay, well, that's actually why I was calling. I have a local company. We do credit card processing, and I'm just wondering if I might be able to stop by sometime and give you guys some free information about our credit card processing service. So again, there's all kinds of different approaches, and I really vary it a lot. I don't really have one pitch that I use. I try to think through each call. I'm not one of these people that gets on the phone and pounds out like 100 calls. I'll give you an example. My father is actually starting into the credit card processing business starting a new branch of it out in Indiana, state of Indiana. And I was calling the other day just trying to call because I'm making a training series for telemarketers that are trying to call and schedule appointments. And so I thought, well, I should probably give it a shot again. I haven't done it in a while. And I made 20 calls and I set 5 appointments out of 20 calls. And again, because each one of those calls, I took a couple, maybe 30 seconds before I made that call to look at that business. I might even have looked up their website because, again, it's a local approach. So I don't want to lose any businesses. My thing is I'm not trying to play a numbers game here. I want to sell everybody. And I know that sounds crazy to most of you, but I really do. I want to sell everybody. So if I'm doing a local approach, I'm trying to knock out a city. I want to sell every single person. So I'm going to try to get as much information as I can. I'm not going to take an hour, but I might take 30 seconds or a minute to look up a website real quick, to look up a business, see what's going on, what do they do. Then I'm going to call them, and I'm just going to have a great pitch already lined up. I already know what I want to say, and it's usually going to be very, very, very custom. I can't emphasize enough how custom my opening presentation is over the phone. I mean, I'll say things like, hi, my name is James Shepard. I'm owner of Multi-Merchant Processing. And now you guys have a bridal store there, don't you? Well, that's great. You know what? I work with a lot of bridal stores, and I know some of their challenges. You have a larger ticket size. Most of your orders are pretty big. And I have a special pricing program I'd really like to talk to you about for bridal stores doing credit card processing. Are you going to be in there tomorrow? I could swing by and talk to you real quick. So, my pitch is very custom for each business, and that gets some great results. Okay, let's see here. Matt, if you got a second here, Matt, I'm gonna unmute your line here. Can you hear me, Matt?
I can indeed.
All right, Matt. What other tips do you have on the telemarketing side? Since I didn't get into that too much, give us a couple quick tips as far as building rapport with a merchant over the phone at the very beginning of the conversation. How do you get past that initial resistance over the phone?
Really, you went over it very well. I do the same thing I almost consider it cherry picking when I'm cold calling businesses around my area, because like you said, you don't want to hurt your reputation or your brand's reputation. So get to know as much about that business as you can and strike up a conversation. Don't ever immediately try to sell them that are in your area, or try to immediately schedule an appointment. Strike up a conversation with them at first and talk about their business. Chances are you've probably been in that business, if it's a restaurant or something like that, and you've experienced their service, and talk about it. I do that all the time. I'm a big fan of pizza. If you see my picture, you can tell that. But so I talk to the pizza joints around here, and I always bring up how good their pizza is, and just get them talking about it. And then I'll typically, I'll bring more of a concerned kind of attitude to the conversation, and I'll bring up the Durbin Amendment, and tell them that we've been doing some case studies around here, and that most merchants I've found, their rates have not been lowered since last year when the Durbin Amendment took effect, and I wanted to show you what we could do for you.
Great. I love it. That's awesome. Yeah. And again, guys, that's something interesting. The Durbin Amendment is interesting. People are like, the what? And when you say something to somebody and they don't know exactly what that is, that's something interesting. If you come in and say, hey, I want to talk to you about lowering your credit card fees. Okay, everything you just said, the merchant understands everything you just said, and they've had a million people say that to them. So say something else. There's nothing wrong with saying I want to lower your credit card fees, but you're going to kind of have to mix that up with something else. Otherwise, it's not going to have a very good effect. So let me go down through and see if there's any other questions and get some additional sales and some additional commission. So, all right, everybody, thank you very much for being on the call today. You have a great day.